Jensen Huang's story begins far from the world of high-performance computing, in a small town in Taiwan where life was simple and filled with quiet routine. He was born into a family that valued discipline and education, but they also understood hardship. When Jensen was still young, his family moved to Thailand in search of better opportunities, hoping that the future would offer more stability than the present. But political unrest and uncertainty followed them, creating an environment where change came quickly and unpredictably. These early moments shaped Jensen with a sense of caution, resilience, and calm awareness of the world around him. As the situation in Thailand grew more dangerous, Jensen's parents made a difficult decision. They sent him and his brother to the United States, believing that even if life was uncertain there, it held more promise than staying. Arriving in America at a young age, Jensen found the transition overwhelming. New culture, new language, new expectations. He lived with relatives on a farm in rural Kentucky, where days were quiet and filled with simple chores. This life, while vastly different from anything he had known, taught him humility and grounded simplicity. The move to America wasn't glamorous or easy. Jensen attended a school where he felt out of place, far from the life his parents imagined for him. When he was enrolled in a boarding school by mistake, one designed for troubled children, he found himself surrounded by students who faced challenges he couldn't fully understand. But instead of withdrawing, Jensen adapted with gentle determination. He worked through the difficulties, observing quietly, and learning how to navigate unfamiliar environments with grace. Despite the challenges, Jensen discovered strengths that would guide him for the rest of his life. He loved math, problem-solving, and the quiet clarity that came from understanding how things worked. Even in uncomfortable surroundings, he found comfort in learning. He wasn't the loudest or the most confident student, but his curiosity pushed him forward. Each small success built a deeper belief that he could shape his own future through effort and patience. When he grew older, Jensen moved again, this time to Oregon, where life felt more stable. Here he discovered his passion for engineering, drawn to the precision and creativity of building technology. His calm approach to problems made him a natural fit for the field. He enrolled at Oregon State University, not knowing that his decision would set the foundation for one of the most important technological careers of the modern age. College became a place where Jensen found both challenge and direction. While studying electrical engineering, Jensen worked part-time jobs to support himself, one of which was washing dishes at a local Denny's. The work was repetitive and physically tiring, but it taught him responsibility and discipline. Standing at a sink late at night, rinsing plates and wiping counters, Jensen learned that every journey begins with small, unglamorous steps. These lessons would stay with him long after he left the restaurant behind. Years later, he would return to a Denny's booth to sketch the idea that would become NVIDIA. In academic life, Jensen stood out for his focus and his ability to see possibilities others overlooked. He learned not just how to build circuits and systems, but how to think in layers, balancing immediate details with long-term vision. Professors noticed his dedication and classmates admired his calm persistence. It was during these years that he began developing the mental framework for innovation: observe deeply, think patiently, and act with precision. He carried these principles into every chapter that followed. After graduating, Jensen began working in the industry, first as an engineer and later in roles that exposed him to the inner workings of advanced computing. But beneath his calm exterior, he felt a quiet, growing ambition. He believed that computing was about to change the world, not just through faster chips, but through entirely new forms of parallel processing. These thoughts were the earliest sparks of a vision that few people at the time could understand, let alone support. But Jensen kept the idea close, letting it mature slowly. His early career taught him how the semiconductor industry worked, and more importantly, how it could evolve. He saw limitations in existing architectures and imagined better ways to use hardware for complex tasks. While others focused on small improvements, Jensen thought about entirely new directions. His mind was drawn to the future, the one where graphics, computation, and creativity were intertwined. He knew the world needed different kinds of chips, even if no one yet realized how essential they would become. By the age of 30, Jensen had gained experience, clarity, and the sense that the moment had come to take a leap. He wasn't driven by ego or fame, but by vision. He wanted to build a company that could reshape the industry through innovation and a culture of excellence. It was a bold dream, especially for someone without wealth or influence. But Jensen's life had taught him that progress comes from quiet courage. And so he began laying the groundwork for a company he believed could change everything. Jensen's decision to start his own company wasn't made in a moment of excitement, but through years of reflection. He had seen the limitations of existing chips, and he understood that the next generation of computing would require something different. Hardware capable of doing many tasks at once, not just processing information in a straight line. Jensen believed deeply in this vision, even though few people in the industry shared it. He knew that parallel computing could unlock breakthroughs in science, graphics, and eventually artificial intelligence. The idea stayed with him like a quiet spark waiting to be ignited. One evening in 1993, Jensen met with two friends at a small Denny's restaurant in California. They gathered not because they were wealthy entrepreneurs, but because it was the only place they could meet without distractions. At that booth, still standing today, Jensen sketched the early concept for a new kind of chip company. Its mission would be to build processors that could handle complex parallel workloads. The company would be called NVIDIA, a name that hinted at NVIDIA, the Latin word for envy, and NV, short for next version. NVIDIA's early years were far from glamorous. The team operated out of modest offices, working long hours and facing constant financial pressure. Competitors doubted them, investors questioned them, and the industry barely noticed their existence. Jensen led his team with calm resolve, pushing toward a future only he could clearly see. His leadership wasn't loud or forceful. He carried the weight quietly, believing that persistence would eventually reveal the company's purpose. In those early days, NVIDIA struggled. Their first chips weren't successful, and at one point the company came dangerously close to failure. Each setback brought painful decisions about resources, direction, and survival, but Jensen refused to give up. He believed failure wasn't a sign to stop, but a sign to adjust. This mindset, rooted in resilience and clarity, became the foundation of NVIDIA's culture. Jensen guided his team through these challenges by focusing on excellence. Even when the market ignored them, he insisted that NVIDIA aim higher than any competitor. He believed that craftsmanship mattered, that every chip represented the skill and dreams of the engineers who built it. Instead of rushing to match trends, he urged his team to think far ahead, years, not months. This long-term mindset would later become one of NVIDIA's greatest advantages. Everything changed when NVIDIA introduced the world's first true GPU, the GeForce 256. This was more than a graphics chip. It was a new category of processor capable of handling massive parallel workloads. Suddenly, NVIDIA wasn't a small challenger anymore. It was a leader. Gamers embraced the GPU because it made graphics richer and smoother. Developers embraced it because it opened new, creative possibilities. And Jensen realized that the GPU was more than just a gaming tool. It was a bridge to the future of computing. As NVIDIA grew rapidly, Jensen stayed grounded in the values that shaped his early life. He treated success as a responsibility, not a celebration. Even during NVIDIA's rise, he reminded his teams to remain disciplined, humble, and focused. The company's culture, built on excellence, speed, and precision, reflected Jensen's own personality. Quiet, determined, and endlessly curious. He believed a company should reinvent itself before the world forced it to. But success didn't eliminate challenges. The tech industry moved quickly and competition never rested. To stay ahead, Jensen encouraged NVIDIA to keep thinking differently. Instead of focusing only on graphics, he saw potential in fields that others ignored. He believed the GPU could become a powerful tool for scientific research, simulations, and eventually artificial intelligence. It was a radical idea at the time, but Jensen knew that innovation required courage, not consensus. His calm confidence guided NVIDIA through some of its hardest decisions. Not every product succeeded, and some failures cost millions. But each challenge strengthened Jensen's belief that the company needed to push further into the future. The GPU wasn't just a product, it was a platform for discovery. Jensen understood that if NVIDIA kept improving the GPU, new industries would eventually emerge around it. All they needed was time, patience, and relentless curiosity. These were the years when Jensen truly came into his own as a leader. He realized that vision meant seeing possibility long before others did. It meant trusting the direction even when the world thought it was wrong. And it meant carrying responsibility with humility, not bravado. Under Jensen's quiet but unwavering leadership, NVIDIA began morphing from a graphics company into something much more, a company preparing to reshape the world of computing. As NVIDIA continued to grow, Jensen realized the world was entering a new era, one where computing wasn't just about graphics or performance, but about intelligence. His belief in parallel processing, once considered a niche idea, now felt more relevant than ever. Scientists were beginning to use GPUs for research, analyzing huge datasets and running complex simulations. The same chips that powered video games were suddenly helping decode DNA, model climate patterns, and explore the mysteries of the universe. Jensen watched this shift quietly, knowing it was only the beginning. During this time, Jensen faced decisions that would shape NVIDIA's future for decades. One of the most important was whether to invest heavily in a new platform called CUDA, a programming model that would allow developers to use GPUs for general-purpose computing. It was a massive risk. Building CUDA required years of effort, millions of dollars, and faith that developers would embrace something unfamiliar. Many advised Jensen to focus on safer options, but he trusted his long-term vision more than short-term comfort. CUDA became a turning point. It allowed programmers to tap into the parallel power of GPUs with precision and control. At first, adoption was slow. Developers hesitated, unsure whether the technology would last or whether it was worth learning something so new. But Jensen encouraged his teams to stay patient. He believed that once people understood the potential of parallel computing, CUDA would unlock breakthroughs across countless fields. His calm persistence kept the company moving forward. As time passed, researchers began using NVIDIA GPUs with CUDA to solve problems traditional processors couldn't handle efficiently. Universities, laboratories, and startups started building their work around the platform. The scientific community noticed the dramatic speed improvements. Suddenly, NVIDIA wasn't just a gaming company, it was becoming essential to innovation. Jensen understood that GPUs were no longer just chipsets, they were engines of discovery, and he encouraged his teams to keep pushing the limits of what they could build. The rise of deep learning brought everything into focus. Around 2012, breakthroughs in neural networks showed the world that AI was entering a new era, one that required enormous amounts of computational power. Researchers realized that GPUs were perfect for training these models because of their parallel architecture. Jensen saw the shift immediately. He understood that AI wasn't a distant future, it was happening now. And NVIDIA was uniquely positioned to lead that future. Jensen responded with clarity and confidence. Instead of building small improvements, He directed NVIDIA toward designing entire platforms for AI computing. This included new GPUs, specialized hardware like the Tensor Core, and powerful systems for data centers. His vision wasn't just about making faster chips, it was about building the infrastructure that would support the AI revolution. Jensen knew that AI would transform every industry, from medicine to robotics, and he wanted NVIDIA to be at the heart of it. As AI adoption grew, so did NVIDIA. The company's technology became essential to training models for voice recognition, image processing, and self-driving cars. Partnering with automakers, NVIDIA helped accelerate the development of autonomous driving systems using AI to analyze the environment in real time. In hospitals and research centers, NVIDIA GPUs helped doctors predict diseases earlier and scientists explore new cures. The impact of the company's work became global, touching millions of lives. Despite this explosive growth, Jensen remained grounded. He didn't take credit for NVIDIA's success. Instead, he always pointed to the teams who engineered the breakthroughs. He believed that leadership meant creating an environment where individuals could excel. Meetings were calm and thoughtful. Decisions were made carefully after listening to experts and considering long-term consequences. Jensen knew that maintaining the right culture was as important as building great technology. Challenges, however, never disappeared. As demand increased, NVIDIA faced competition from major companies trying to enter the AI hardware space. Mistakes still happened, products sometimes underperformed, markets shifted, and external pressure grew. But Jensen continued leading with clarity rather than emotion. He reminded his team that innovation wasn't predictable. Real progress came from embracing uncertainty, not avoiding it. His ability to stay calm during turbulence strengthened the company during its most critical years. The transformation of NVIDIA into an AI powerhouse surprised many, but not Jensen. He had spent decades preparing for this moment, trusting a vision that had once seemed impossible. From gaming to scientific research, from robotics to cloud computing, NVIDIA's technology was now woven into the fabric of modern innovation. Yet Jensen continued to approach each new milestone with humility. He knew success wasn't permanent, it was something earned constantly through reinvention and discipline. By this stage in Jensen's journey, NVIDIA was no longer just a company, it was a global force shaping the future. Its GPUs powered not only entertainment, but the tools that would define entire industries. Jensen had guided the company through failure, breakthrough, and transformation, turning early struggles into invaluable lessons. And as the world entered the most important phase of AI development, Jensen stood ready to lead with the same quiet determination that carried him from a humble childhood to the forefront of technological change. As NVIDIA entered a new chapter, Jensen found himself leading through one of the most transformative periods in the history of technology. Artificial intelligence was no longer a distant possibility, it was becoming the foundation of modern innovation. From language models to robotics, from medical breakthroughs to scientific discoveries, the world began relying on hardware capable of extraordinary parallel computation. NVIDIA's GPUs became essential infrastructure for this new age. And Jensen understood, perhaps better than anyone, the responsibility that came with such influence. With NVIDIA now powering global AI development, Jensen began speaking more often about the philosophy behind technology. He emphasized that progress must be built with intention, not speed. He believed that the most important innovations weren't the loudest, they were the ones that quietly reshaped the tools people used every day. Under his guidance, NVIDIA focused not just on performance, but on responsibility. Jensen reminded his teams that technology had the power to elevate humanity when guided by clarity and purpose. Throughout these years, Jensen continued to approach leadership the same way he always had, calmly, thoughtfully, and with a deep respect for engineering excellence. He encouraged NVIDIA's culture to remain disciplined and curious, even as the company reached heights that once seemed unimaginable. He believed that success could cloud judgment if not balanced with humility. So he kept NVIDIA grounded by returning again and again to a simple question: what meaningful problem can we solve next? This mindset helped the company evolve without losing sight of its values. As NVIDIA's influence spread across industries, Jensen became a trusted voice in the global conversation about the future of AI. He spoke about education, accessibility, and the need to democratize powerful tools. His own life had been shaped by opportunity his parents fought to give him, and he wanted to ensure that the next generation could dream just as freely. He encouraged young engineers to stay curious, stay patient, and embrace the long path of mastery. To him, innovation was not a race, it was a lifelong practice. Even as headlines celebrated NVIDIA as one of the world's most valuable companies, Jensen remained remarkably grounded. He still preferred simple routines, quiet reflection, and close collaboration with engineers. He found joy in the details, examining prototypes, reviewing architectures, and discussing performance improvements. Despite leading a trillion-dollar company, he stayed connected to the craft itself. Jensen believed that great products came from leaders who stayed close to the work, not above it. NVIDIA's success opened new horizons, from autonomous vehicles to climate modeling, from AI-driven drug discovery to creative tools. The company's technology became woven into the fabric of human progress. Jensen knew that the impact of these innovations would last far beyond his time as CEO. Yet he also understood that every leap forward came with ethical considerations. He encouraged open dialogue, believing that the future should be shaped not by one person or one company, but by collective effort. True leadership, he felt, meant guiding responsibly while empowering others to build alongside you. As he reflected on his journey from a childhood marked by uncertainty to a career defined by vision, Jensen often spoke about gratitude. He remembered the nights washing dishes at Denny's, the struggles in early NVIDIA, the fear of failure, and the moments where progress felt distant. Each experience taught him patience, resilience, and humility. These lessons shaped the steady determination that carried him through the most uncertain moments of his life. They became the foundation of a leadership style built not on force, but on clarity. In the world of technology, few stories illustrate the power of quiet conviction as clearly as Jensen's. He proved that you don't need to start with privilege to reach extraordinary places. You don't need noise to make an impact. You don't need certainty to pursue a vision. His life shows that when you move through the world with curiosity, discipline, and courage, you can help create a future far greater than anything you once imagined. As this documentary comes to a gentle close, let Jensen Huang's journey remind you that progress often begins quietly. You don't need to have everything figured out to take the first step. You don't need to move quickly to change your life. Like Jensen, you can start wherever you are, learn from each challenge, and build your future piece by piece. Your path can unfold with patience, clarity, and intention. Take a slow breath, let the day soften around you, and allow your mind to rest. Whatever dreams you're working toward, trust that steady effort will guide you forward. You are already on your way, moving calmly, moving thoughtfully, moving with purpose. Good night.